Okay, a bit of an update on what happened to the Porsche 1985 Porsche 928 panel, the one that was ruined by some previous mechanic. So I cleaned this thing severely. I hosed it with brake cleaner because it was covered in mold and God knows what. And after I did that, a lot of these letters kind of came off, even the ones down here. So I had to reapply the labels. I had like a sticker label printer, put them on here, and so I could, it honestly looks better in my opinion. It's much more readable. Then I went through the process of repairing all this bad wiring. Let me see if I could find. So there's a lot of whoever did this did a lot of bad wiring, like specifically like over here. You see, like here, the way the guy did it. See, this wire here goes to the key on power. So key on power comes here, powers this. So this guy said, oh, okay, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wire, cut it, take this wire here, which goes to the EZF relay, cut it, and what else did he take from? So he took from more than one source. Oh, he spliced it all into this loop here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a loop that connects this fuse panel to this fuse box to this fuse box, and he just jumped all this. And this more especially, or actually this, powers a lot of stuff. I don't think this actually worked. This car must have been sat and abandoned. My uncle may not be telling me the whole story. Like maybe the guy came there, tried to get the car working, and he just abandoned it. I also had to repair a wire over here. This is the ground wire for the fuel pump, relay. So this would go to the LH module, and the LH module puts out a ground, which part of it kicks on. But this one right here, this wire right here, powers on a lot of components. And this guy hooked it up here to power it all up. It was retarded. So, and of course it corroded, the connection corroded, none of it was conducting power. The fuses, all the fuses on this panel were corroded. They look like this. See how corroded that is? Yeah, I cleaned it, I polished it, and now they all look, well, they all kind of like this. This is one of the original relays. See how the connector is nice and shiny? I use a Dremel and some jeweler's polish, as well as this polish is really good. This Flitz, even though that it does a pretty good job, the Dremel, using a Dremel like this to shine the connections and give it a good continuity, it's good to finish it off with the Flitz. It gives it a beautiful shine. You can see this relay, I did this with the relay not only to the pins, so they conduct, but they also to the surface. And here is one of the original relays. See, I did it to one side, but I didn't do it to the other sides. And I also didn't do it to the pins. And see, that's not very clean, not very good. I also cleaned all these. All of these were black. These pins were all black. You see how it's nice and shiny? Well, I couldn't do that to all the pins, so I had to take, like, see, a needle nose plier, and I actually hot glued some sandpaper to the needle nose, so I literally put it in here and rake all of these until they were clean, and then I dielectric greased all this. I also dielectric greased all these fuses, which were not even the correct fuses. I had to pull new fuses here and there to make repairs. Anyway, I also checked all the wiring to make sure, because this was messed with. And if anyone's wondering how to check the wiring here, because I found some inconsistencies with this diagram. This is the diagram I went with. And everything matched up, except that there were some like weird inconsistencies. But it looked like typos to me. Like this one here, if I can read it, says XV3. Barely visible. And when I tested XV3, this is XV3. No, XV3 didn't have the power. It was XV2. So I'm like, maybe someone else had made a mistake. I also did the same thing. I also found the same inconsistency here. don't know if you can see that. That says XIT. So like pin, let's see, pin 24 P24 would go to IXT, but no. Not this socket, but it would go to this socket, the XI. This socket here. So this would have the continuity, not this. And the one that really threw me off was this one. I think it was R21. The damn camera keeps playing around with this. Stop that. So this goes all over the place. I can't even understand what it's saying here. There's a bunch of gibberish. None of it seems to make any sense. This is like the one thing that just kind of gives up. But R21, which is... And if anyone tries to read these things, the way it works is that it's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And that's all the lettering here. So R21 be this first pin right here on the right side. And this goes all over the place. This goes to the fuel pump relay. It goes to a bunch of other it goes to XX. It goes to the XV, the 2 over here, the fuse 5. This is the fuse, by the way. This is the fuse the guy messed with, which this fuse was cut. So, and this gets, I think, a power or a ground from A panel. I don't remember, but this is supposed to supply power all over this thing. There's just a ton of them, and even goes to D11 and V215. So there's a ton of relays. So there was a reason why when we tried to start the car that the fuel pump as well as the EZF wasn't working. Well, now I know why. Because the EZF was part of the power, because again, he made it part of the power because he cut it here and he spliced it into this fuse here. And of course, this, if there was no power going to these here, because these two here are interconnected, and he took this, put it here, as well as this. There was a reason why almost everything wasn't getting powered, because he had mucked around with it. But anyone who's trying to read these diagrams, it's fairly difficult. See the left side here? Everything on the left here tells you the location of these connections. So if you actually downloaded the PDF, you would see in the PDF, like, see here, there's A, B, C, D, yeah. And there would be numbers on the side which got cut off in the print. And you would basically just go to a location, like this one says C17, so you would just go to C, and whatever the number 17 would be another page further up. And the right, fucking thing doesn't want to focus. There it goes. C30, that goes to always on power. X is key on power, and that X is the one that goes all the way. It doesn't show it here. This diagram doesn't show it, but it goes to this fuse, fuse 5. And that goes all over the board. It goes all over the place. So this diagram doesn't show that. And then the relays, the sockets, so that say XVI 30. So 30 would be like what you would see on the underneath of these relays here. Can I see the 30? Well, whatever. You see there's a 30 here on the diagram. So whatever pin 30 is where it goes to. And you would see the same thing for the fuses. So like a fuse would have a SI in it. So like SIAB and SIZ, whatever. That tells you it goes in and goes out. So just go to the fuse wherever it says. So if it says goes to fuse 6. So just go find the fuse 6. This is fuse 6 right here. And then you just take the multimeter and test the continuity. It's fairly straightforward, but there are things like it doesn't tell you because you have to look. 15 is ground, I think, or is it another key on power? I think maybe for the starting power, where X is power on as soon as you turn the key. I think the ground isn't really mentioned, or maybe it is. Maybe I forgot. But yeah, that's how you read this diagram. So like I spent hours checking all the continuity on this fuse panel. Focus, you stupid thing. So I checked the continuity of this. Took me forever. Cleaned it. And I'm ready to deal with the relays next, because that's why you see me. I have one clean original. This is 32-year-old relay. This is how it looks like when it's not clean. I haven't yet got to this. You see how corroded this looks? There's some corrosion there. It still work. I want to get it nice and clean. I am going to order some relays because some of them are not proper. This is the kickdown relay because this is got an automatic transmission. That doesn't look like it's not the original, but someone must have replaced it because look, the pins look brand new. This is a plastic relay. They don't use plastic back in 1985, at least not these kinds. So I probably have to order 2, 3, 4 relays, maybe more. I have to get these replaced, and I think the panel is good to go.